Hey guys, welcome to this lesson, and we're looking at the major pentatonic and how you can take your minor pentatonic, any shape you like, shape 1 all the way to shape 5, and turn it into major. We'll be looking at the theory you need and how to quickly turn it into major, as well as taking Amazing Grace, that really cool tune that you just heard, to apply all the other things that make it major, knowing when to find the root, the major third, how to play melodically, and just a little bit more tastefully. There's so much in that track that we can learn from, and you're going to come away from this lesson really understanding how to take your minor pentatonics and make them major. Now don't forget that you can head on over to the website, the link is below, and you'll be able to download the full backing track so that you can learn this piece, play along, and then jam along to the track with all of your new theoretical skills. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is tackle the basic theory that we're working with here. And a lot of you guys will be coming from the point of view of minor pentatonic. So you'll have learnt your minor pentatonic, hopefully in a couple of shapes, ideally all 5 shapes, across the neck, okay? And the really good news here is that you don't need to change any of that, okay? All 5 shapes are the same 5 shapes. We're using exactly the same shapes. The only difference is where we move the root note. Okay, so this is to do with something called the relative major and minor. Okay, it's a simple idea that the minor and the major pentatonic, or major scales even, are exactly the same. You just start in a different point, okay, within the scale. So if we take our A minor pentatonic shape for now, okay, hopefully nice and easy, shape 1. Okay, the major root note within that is actually here on the 8th fret, okay? So the minor root note is the one we're all familiar with, okay, where we start our first finger, but the major root note is on the 8th fret. Now this is called the relative major. So A minor and C, in this case C major, are the exact same key, okay? We're just starting in a different point of that scale to get the scale. So in this case, we would start from A to get the A minor, and we'd start from C and end on C and revolve the whole thing around C to get the C major. So now, if I go through that same scale shape, just highlighting the C notes, okay, so we've got one here, we've got one there, and one there, we're gonna see how it sounds different. So have a listen. Compare that to the minor. And our major. Okay. So you can see how we've shifted the sound from minor, into a major key, and that's all you need to do. So a really cool little tip here, guys, is if you know your minor root notes across the neck in all the pentatonic shapes, then all you have to do is move to the next pentatonic note along for the major. So no matter where I am, if I was in my pentatonic shape 3, for example, in A minor, which is there, okay, and I shifted up 1, that's my major root note. Okay, so no matter where you are across the fretboard, if you know your minor root note, which is something you're probably very familiar with based on all the licks, you know, in rock and blues that you've learned, you just shift up 1 and you've got your major root note. Simple as that. And that is all the theory we really need for this. If you are interested in going a bit more in depth with that theory and understanding how the key works more wholly, as it were, then please head over to the website. I'll give you a link below in the description for the Guitar Theory Lab, where we go through this in detail. Now, as well as knowing the theory as to where to shift the pentatonic shapes or where to shift the root notes, it's also important as to how to just play in major overall, from a more musical point of view. So how to phrase things in major, where to end the phrases. Do you end them on the root? Do you end them on the major third? These kind of things. And just generally how to play more melodically. So, you know, the perfect tune for me is this Amazing Grace, because it's a really well-known melody, okay? It teaches us how to phrase really beautifully in a major key, and it also teaches us where to end phrases, how to end them on the major rather than the minor, okay? So rather than taking these old licks that you've rehashed a few times, you know, and trying to just do that in major, we're learning how to move that root note and actually get some licks and some ideas based around that. So what we'll do is we'll now go through that melody. Okay, so let's actually break down that melody now. So I'm going to play the first whole phrase and then we'll talk through it. Okay, so here's the first phrase. Okay, now first thing we need to know is that we're in the key of D major here. Okay, so same thing again with regards to finding the key. I would find the root notes, so in this case D on the E string or the A string, okay? And from there I'd find the chord, really is what I would do. So I'd find the bar chord there or the bar chord there, or if you're familiar with your cage chords across the neck, okay? If you want more detail on this, please head over to the website. I'll leave links below. And I would match that up to the shape. So a really easy one to kind of get started with this is you can just find, if you find your root note on the E string, play that bar chord, you've got shape 2 of the pentatonic right there. So that kind of puts you in place, and of course when you've got shape 2, you know shape 1 is next door, and shape 5 is next door to that, and shape 4 is next door to that. Just however you've learned those pentatonic scales to join them across the neck, same thing applies. We've now just put the root note in a different place. So we're in that pentatonic shape 1 really to start with in D. Okay? So we start down here, so 2nd fret, so this is pentatonic shape 4. We're going to hammer on to the 4th fret and slide up to the 7th fret. Okay? Now, one thing I mentioned at the start of this was that we're not only looking at just, licks, we're looking at how to make them more melodic, how to make them more major sounding. And part of that is not playing the guitar in a typical guitar way. So not picking loads all the time. Here we're just picking once, hammering on, and then sliding. Okay. Next up, we're going to do this. We're going to slide from the 9th fret to the 11th, then back, and then pull off, and then slide again up to the 11th fret like this. So again, all in one plectrum stroke. Okay, and that gives a more melodic, more vocal kind of quality. Then I'm going to come back to that shape 1 and I'm going to do 7, hammer on to 9, back to 7, and then 7 to 9 to 7 on the D string. Okay, so we've got this. And notice, really, really importantly here, the notes that we're ending these phrases on. Okay, so that first phrase ends on the root note, the second phrase ends on the major 3rd, and the final phrase ends on the 5th of D. And these are all golden notes that you can use and should be using when you're playing in major. Okay, so that's really what this is kind of teaching you at the same time. Now the next part goes like this, very similar, slight difference at the end. Okay, so exactly the same build-up, okay, but instead of going back into this kind of shape 1, so we do the same slide up, then this cool little melodic slide here, but then we're going to grab the note here on the 10th fret of the B string, okay, which kind of moves us into this kind of A chord, and I'm going to jump back a semitone and just do a semitone bend. Just to give it a bit of extra something. Really, it's just that note twice, but I just really like that idea. Okay? Now from there, the next part is this. Okay? So, again, using the same shapes, but just really making it major sounding. And using some bends and vibrato and everything else to really bring out those vocal qualities. So we're now going to take the 7th fret of the B string, up to the 10th fret, and then do that semitone bend again. Just give it a bit of extra something, a bit of extra class, as it were. A little vibrato on that. Then I'm going to take the 10th fret and bend it up a tone, back down, pull off. So all in one plectrum stroke there, or finger stroke. And then I'm going to go 10, 9 on the G, and 7 on the B. Okay, so you get this all together, that little lick. Okay, and then back to this idea. Okay, bear in mind at this point, if you want the tab, do head over to the website where it's all laid out nice and clearly in tab as well. And the final lick is this. So same idea again, we move from shape 4 up into shape 1. And then rather than doing this cool slide bit, we're going to do it in bends. So we're going to bend up a tone, down, pull off, and then bend up again, all in one plectrum stroke, okay? Okay, and then hammer on and finish on that root note. Okay, so I'll just play the whole thing through once so you can hear it nice and clearly, and just talk about those root notes and those thirds and everything else, just to really dig that in. So, there's the major root note, major third, major root, fifth. Same thing again. Oops, not quite. There we go. Major third, and then the fifth. Then this bit. Then again, last part with the bends. And then ending on that major root note. So there we have it. You can see just how nice that sounds and just how major it is. Okay, it's the same pentatonic shapes, but we're moving the phrasing to work in major rather than minor. Okay, that's all from me, guys. Remember that you can go over to the website, the link is below, and you can download the full track. And please subscribe, please like, please comment. I'd love to hear from you about how you're getting on with this lesson. I'll speak to you soon.